I am going through Final Fantasy VII completely fresh and know nothing. Really nothing. We're starting from the beginning, and then afterward we're probably going to play Crisis Core, and then afterward we're probably going to watch Advent Children, and then on this is going to go. So this is me giving my fresh, completely knowing nothing takes as I'm going through the game. So in part 1, I discussed what happened up until getting dunked into the sewer, and in part 2 I talk about what happens after that, which is so much. It just is whizzing by. It's so fast, this game. I can't keep up with what is happening. I have taken copious notes in order to even be able to talk about it right now. Oh yes, also, I need to say no spoilers in the comments. I read every single comment and try to respond to them all. And don't tell me anything. And also, I would also appreciate it if you don't remark on specific things that I say, alluding to anything, or that I'm correct or that I'm incorrect, since I want to experience this thing with as little tampering as possible from other people's minds. So where we left off, Shinra is going to wipe out Sector 7 slums. We enter into total chaos. Our team is getting annihilated. People are dying. Barrett and Tifa from the team are the last surviving people. I am really impressed that right in the beginning of our first mission that we do get to be with these people. And the characters in the team do leave an impression. The biggest impression that was left with me was with Jessie, because you have an option to save her life. I was most hurt by seeing her dying and thinking, oh, this is very real. In my last stream, we talked about, oh, what is the moment when the game gets real? And it feels like the game gets real, but it's so early in the game. But I did struggle with the gameplay here. I believe where I left off, I was navigating across the trains, and depth perception is impossible to understand. It feels like we're walking around on a flat map, and I cannot tell where to go, and it's very frustrating. At the top of the tower, Aerith is found on a helicopter, and we learn that Aerith is the last remaining ancient. And the word ancient doesn't have any meaning at that point, but from what I kind of thought in the beginning was, oh, Aerith is definitely special. There's no doubt about her specialness. So just the fact that there's green around her, there seems to be a life force in her. The prominence of her in that opening cutscene made her already very clearly special. So to hear, oh, that she's the last ancient, I was not surprised in the least, even not knowing exactly what an ancient was. Tifa entrusts Aerith with Marlene, the little girl, and I still, didn't know who Marlene was, because why did Tifa care about her so much? I thought, is Tifa the mother? No, Tifa's probably too young. She seems to be a romantic interest. So is she a younger sister? Who is this Marlene? Thought it showed a lot of trust for her to entrust Aerith, even though they don't know each other. Maybe it was out of desperation, but I felt like they had a connection. Maybe it was because Aerith went so far out of her way already to go and save Tifa. In the first part, I kind of felt that they were setting up Cloud's arc, because he said in the elevator, I believe, that he doesn't care about the planet. He doesn't really care about anyone or anything. He seems to have a extremely cold exterior that I imagine throughout the game maybe he would warm up or something. Already it feels like we're seeing his arc, and it reminds me a lot of Wakka, right? Because he doesn't seem to care about anyone or anything or about the planet, and yet he is confronted with Aerith being an ancient. And then he's also confronted with his team, which he was a newcomer, he wasn't very close to them, getting killed. So it's like he has to feel emotional towards something. But given I know so much nothing about Cloud, I don't know anything about what it was like to be in Soldier or his backstory. I'm sure that's all gonna come in soon. But at this moment, Cloud is completely shrouded in mystery, and he's the character we're playing as, and that's so strange to me. Oh, but to clarify how I feel like he's similar to Wakka, Wakka's hate toward the Albed, does not care for the Albed, and then being confronted with Albed being slaughtered in front of him was able to help him see into himself and see that he really does care about the humanity of people, even if they're Albed. I feel like Cloud could have been confronted with the same thing. But given I can't see Cloud's face through dialogue, I really cannot tell what he's feeling or if he has any change of heart whatsoever at this moment. It would be very interesting to see how the remake handles this. Since I don't see Cloud's face, I don't know how he feels, but I have to see his face and know a little bit about how he feels in the game. Will he look completely stoic, totally cold? I found it interesting that Jesse said that maybe we deserve this outcome because our actions killed people. We killed people, so we deserve to be killed. I just thought that was a sad way to go because saying something like that made me think that she was a good, empathetic person who wanted to do the right thing. Can I cosplay as Jessie? I really like Jessie knowing so little about her. We soon after this learn that Marlene is safe. We learn that Barrett is the father, which was a surprise to me since I had no idea. Aerith's mother confronting Barrett about not being there for his daughter and his emotional response actually made me emotional too. It made me tear up, I think, a little bit just thinking about how everything he is doing is motivated by his daughter. And that human moment made me feel very connected to Barrett, and I am a fan of him. It's so interesting how these Final Fantasy games can make me like the characters so quickly. In Final Fantasy X, I'm so fond of everyone, so fond of Wakka and Lulu, and they seem like such real, flawed people. Barrett is obviously a hothead and can be impulsive, and he was not very kind to Cloud as a newcomer and was suspicious of him. But seeing how he really wants to create a better future for Marlene shows that he truly has a good heart, just like Jessie obviously had a good heart. And so I trust that this team, Avalanche, are good people knowing so little. Also, last time I said I didn't have much of a read on Tifa. I still kind of don't, but I think her entrusting Aerith with Marlene and also having a connection with the little girl is making me feel like I trust her as well. And this is how it seems also so connected to Final Fantasy X. Because in Final Fantasy VII, it sounds like the world is dying. And in Final Fantasy X, the world is not dying, it is just everyone is dying all the time. And so both worlds are taking place in a lot of suffering. And in this suffering, everyone has to cope for it, and it's a psychological story. How do people cope with such constant grief? And similar to Final Fantasy X, we have a band of misfits, and they want to solve the suffering of the world somehow. In my notes, I wrote down that Aerith's mother is named Elmira. It stood out to me probably because it sounds to me like my own name, Miranda. Elmira, the Mira. The name is Latin, and that Mira part is a part of admirable. I really, really like Elmira. She launches into a story about herself, about how she came to adopt Aerith, that Aerith is not her biological daughter. Nearly the moment that she becomes a widow, she becomes a mother. The fact that she encounters her at the train, expecting her husband and getting a little girl back instead. It was like it was worth it going to the train every day to see her husband. We learn that Aerith escaped from a research lab. I still don't think, even at this point in the game, I don't understand Aerith's strange behavior because it seemed to me like she wanted to be caught. Her behavior towards Cloud was completely reckless. Now knowing this, that people were always after her. Right when we dropped into the church, people were chasing her. But it didn't seem to be a big deal. It was like, yeah, we can go get captured. It's fine. And even Elmira says, oh, this is what Aerith wanted. Tifa seems to think that it is because of Marianne that Aerith is captured. But I feel like her even just venturing out and being with Cloud is clearly showing that she is ready to be captured. still seems to know something that I don't know. Everyone still knows something that I don't know. There is a moment up the stairs where Marlene tells Cloud that she thinks that Aerith likes him. And she says, I won't tell Tifa, which makes me think that Marlene is an Aerith shipper over Tifa. So I'll keep tabs on that. Then we go on our mission to Shinra Headquarters. We soon after this climb a beam, and the climbing is so slow. I don't know how anyone does it at 1 times the speed. That swinging bar thing was the worst thing I had ever experienced so far in this game. It was awful. I had to watch a YouTube video on how to do the jump because I had no idea at what moment I was supposed to jump. The whole when it doesn't get too close to the side, like that could be anywhere in the spectrum. I thought I would jump when the bar reached the middle. I didn't know that it was very close and it was that extra little squeak right there. No way I could have known without looking it up. I also climbed the stairs at 3 times the speed, and I was so grateful for that. There was a couple little lines of dialogue that I missed, but I think that was worth it. Also in that climbing, someone says the R word, and I was like, oh, no one would say that in Final Fantasy X. I would never see that word in any other game, it feels like. Do they use that word in the remakes? And then we make it to Team Rocket Headquarters. It really did feel like Team Rocket Headquarters, all of the gameplay and getting the card keys and stuff. I just felt like that must have been straight out of Pokemon or something. Or more likely, Pokemon was taking notes on Final Fantasy. I really enjoyed the card key stuff because it wasn't very challenging, but it incentivized exploring. It just felt cool and like espionage. My favorite NPC was the secretary lady who says that she carries files for the men and she gets to meet lots of guys being a secretary. I'm just saying, a lot of the female characters talk a lot about guys. It seems very suiting that we go into the vent of the bathroom and that that they go through the effort of having that overhead shot of looking straight into the toilet. It just feels fitting for Midgar. This is a grimy world, even in Shinra Headquarters. We learned that President Shinra is Elon Musk and that they plan to leave the planet and go into space and create a Neo Midgar, perfectly named. And they say this word, they say something called the Promised Land. And this phrase is used multiple times, the Promised Land, and I don't know what the Promised Land is, but I guess that the ancients are going to lead them to the Promised Land. The Promised Land in the Bible is the land that is given to Abraham to procreate and have lots of offspring. But I guess without the Bible, a more understood meaning of the Promised Land is just a place of great happiness and prosperity. So what I understand is that they just plan to go to a place where they're prosperous and where the planet's not dying. Is that the Promised Land? We don't know. I don't know. I don't know what the Promised Land is, but they say it a bunch. At this point, things are just happening so quickly that it's hard for me to understand. There's Red 13, the experiment that happens. I just kind of go, oh, okay. We have a talking dog. Our espionage fails. We go into jail. And then it's very soon after that, as you know, that we discover suddenly our door is unlocked. There is a huge stream of blood. Oh yeah, and we see this creepy experiment in a window. I don't understand what that is. Is that an ancient thing? Nothing is, I feel like I'm retaining nothing. It's so hard. Even as I was taking notes, I'm like, how am I supposed to remember all this? It's happening so fast. And on top of that, the graphics of the game is just not burning images into my head, I feel like. But the stream of blood was very harrowing as we see that everyone died. Because it really the game sets up this expectation that our big bad boss is Shinra Headquarters, these are the bad people, the people around the table going, ha 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 ha, we rich people are gonna leave and we're going to live in prosperity while the rest of the world dies. I thought everything was so clear, and yet we're only 4 hours into the game, so that can't be the case, right? Like, there's so much game left. We're not in the third act, we're in still the first act. It's so hard to keep that in mind. Like, this isn't the end of the game, this is the beginning of the game. So then Sephiroth comes, kills everyone. We see the sword in the back of President Shinra, and I find this whole part hilarious. And it is soon after this that Cloud gets on a motorcycle, I think, because Cloud is cool. Everyone else gets into a car thing, and we drive off, and that is where I left off the game. All I have to say is just, whew, what a whirlwind of information. I feel overwhelmed. I feel like I'm not going to remember anything. You know, in Final Fantasy X, Tidus is the fish out of water and he doesn't know anything. But in this game, I am the fish out of water and Cloud is mute and not telling me what's on his mind. So I feel kind of alone in all of this. Those are my chaotic, completely off the cuff thoughts on the game so far. If you like this, then I'm going to be coming out with more videos on this topic. So be sure to subscribe, and I have a playlist. And if you like this video, then you may like this video. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much for watching. Bye!